Whenever you are creating a logline or a one-sentence pitch for your novel, you might be tempted to jump in with world building. The world building is probably what got you excited about writing the story in the first place, especially if you are writing science fiction and fantasy. Most science fiction and fantasy authors come to this with some sort of idea about a magic system or the crazy situation that somebody is in. But I'm going to encourage you instead to start with character. We come to story for character. Character is at the heart of everything that we do in storytelling. Characters are what makes a story feel unique and interesting and relatable all at the same time. And so when you're crafting your one sentence pitch, I don't want you to jump in with "in a world where" or anything along those lines. I don't even want you to start with a situation. You might have heard the advice to start with the word when something happens to this person. But if we start with that, we don't have any context for it yet. I don't really care that this terrible thing has happened to this person because I don't know if I'm supposed to be rooting for this person yet. So instead, I recommend that you start with characters. So you're going to use this formula of character wants something in a situation, a setting, or both. A newly impoverished debutante wants to escape an abusive engagement aboard the Titanic. The governor's only daughter wants to go hunting pirate treasure sometime in the 1700s at the Caribbean islands. A hopeless romantic searches for love in cynical New York City. And you might look at that one and say, like many of these other log lines, if you're trying your own in the comment section already, you might look at that one and be like, okay, well, I've heard a story about a hopeless romantic searching for love before. This is where we instead add a tiny bit extra information about this character that helps it feel unique. We've told that story of the hopeless romantic in New York City over and over and over again, especially when it is the character's best friend has newly gotten engaged. That feels old. We've done it a lot. A woman is nearing 30 and her best friend just got engaged. Her younger sister got engaged. We do this all the time. We don't tend to tell that story from a man's perspective. And so when we say a hopeless romantic is looking for love in New York City after his best friend just got engaged, it feels a little bit more fresh. It feels a little bit different. These don't even have to be fantastical stories. They don't have to be big, epic stories. A mother wants to be best friends with her daughter instead of her mother in quirky small town Connecticut. The story can be very grounded in what we consider our real world. But when you come at it with this character, this person who wants something, you now know who and what it is you're supposed to be rooting for. A couple of pitfalls that people fall into when they are crafting these pitches is that they will either be way too specific or they'll be way, way, way too vague. And I will show you a couple of different examples on either side of that. Let's start with the vague one since it's a little bit easier to demonstrate and it's a little bit more common. If I say a woman wants to solve a mystery, I don't know what it is I'm supposed to care about. If I instead say a novelist wants to solve the mystery of her neighbor's murder in small town Massachusetts, now we've got something that feels a little bit more like I can connect to it, like I can relate to it. Or we can be super ultra specific. And because I tend to work in science fiction and fantasy spaces, these are the ones that I see most often. And so I will see something like a cleric named Warren living on the mountaintop in a small country on an island off the coast of this other big, large country, wants to solve a curse that was put into place when the warlocks wrote the ancient texts 5,000 years ago and has been set into motion by demons, and he has to defeat the demons, and it's too many things. And so anybody listening to that pitch or listening to that log line starts to be like, oh, okay, I'm not entirely sure which piece of that I'm supposed to focus on. These log lines are not the only way that you are going to pitch your book, but it is the way that you are going to pitch your book when people are making small talk. This should invite them to ask more questions about it, and it should also leave room for the other person to be part of the conversation as well. What we are trying to avoid is when someone says, hey, tell me what your book is about, and then you drone on for the next 45 seconds, and boy, oh boy, if you don't think 45 seconds is a long time, I don't know what to tell you. I also want to avoid sort of that awkward moment when someone says, hey, what are you working on now? And you're like, I don't know. It's about a girl. And like, well, it's not really a girl. I guess she's sort of a woman. And I don't really, I guess like there's this curse. First, I need to tell you about her parents. No, actually, really, you need to know that she's able to do magic. And people zone out. They're not listening to you anymore. So if you can keep it simple, start with character wants something in a situation or a setting or sometimes both. And then occasionally you need to tack on a little bit more detail at the end there in order to make it feel a little bit more fresh and interesting. Try putting yours in the comments section. Let's help everybody out. This video topic was suggested by one of my patrons over on Patreon, where I allow patrons at the top tier to suggest video topics. If you want to suggest a topic for a future video, go ahead and hit the link down below. YouTube thinks that you would like this other video. I'm not sure if I'm pointing in the right direction or not, but I'll see you next time. Thanks.